Day 35, Afro-Eurasia and the other four world zones. The catalyst to the era of increased hemispheric interactions. I fully acknowledge that's a mouthful. But even though it's a mouthful, it's a fairly simple meaning. About 2,000 years ago with the Silk Road, people started mixing in all sorts of different ways on a scale that human beings have never done before. And it was caused by routes, good sea routes, land routes, empires growing, writing, and religion. And this caused people to mix. And at the same time, the population went up in the process. And that was the start of our class, a little review from yesterday. And then I asked the question, when you're 21 and you have a little money in your pocket and you have some time on your hands, where are you going to go and what you going to do? And I had people go all over the country. Some didn't leave at all. Some went to very exotic locations, somewhere in between. And people explained what they wanted to do when they get there. And I hope you all reach that goal someday. And I pooled the list of what people came up with. They said people were looking for excitement and new experiences, make a little money, some cool sights, eating some different food, meeting some new and unique people, finding themselves. That's a little more philosophical, but very cool. Shopping, which is less philosophical, but fun for some, I guess. And some people want to get out, just any place but here. I want to hit the road. And I get it. I totally get it. Here's some pictures of my travels and different flavors, different levels of exoticness. You know, Edinburgh and Puerto Rico and Italy is a lot more exotic than Battle Creek, Michigan, or Dundee, Michigan. But Saranac Lake, New York, and Dallas, Texas, I get it. Hitting the road is a fantastic experience, and I hope you do it. And people did it in the past. You're going to do it in the future. But I want to take you to right now. Many of you, if you're going to take a trip, especially by car, you are going to use this main artery. It's called I-75. You can go from Sault Ste. Marie, look across and see Canada, beautiful town. You can go to Mackinac Island, have some fudge. You can go to Flint and avoid the water. You can go to Mary Mary, Detroit, and go to the Motown Museum and Greenfield Village and have a coney dog. Some college towns here. Cincinnati, not a bad town at all, although they put chili on their pasta, and I object to that. Then people start talking a little differently. They get the southern accent going here. Atlanta, Georgia. If you can't have fun in Atlanta, Georgia, I don't think you have a pulse. Great time, nightlife, all the food, the whole nine. Tampa, all the way to the Florida Keys. And some of you are saying, I don't want to go anywhere right here. I want to go to New York. Okay, boom. Okay, hey, I want to go to New Orleans. Boom. Okay, there it is. But to mix and to travel and to do all those things you were hoping to do, you need to have a main artery. You need to have a main route. And to us, I-75 is the main route by car. If I go back 2,000 years ago, it's the Silk Road. And the Silk Road expanded from the west to Rome all the way to China. And you can see all these commodities that are off the beaten path where people were making their livings off of and trading and moving across the world to move these things, and in the process having some adventures and spreading ideas, spreading religion, spreading love, spreading hate, spreading disease. All this mixing was along this Silk Road, and it produced major empires that grew along the Silk Road. So it was really an engine of this hemispheric interaction, this increased hemispheric interaction that takes place after this. And it took place in a region of the world called Afro-Eurasia, Africa, Europe, Asia. Now, it's not the only region of the world, but it has a distinct advantage, the most important for a number of reasons. First of all, people were there the longest. Homo sapiens left East Africa 160,000 years ago, and as we spread here in terms of the Silk Road from Rome to China. This is where all these transactions were happening, and in the process people were making money, exchanging culture, getting more sophisticated with technology, building up immune systems. Now there are three other regions of the world. Not to dismiss them, they are not as any less important to in this day and age, but at the time they weren't as built up. They weren't as involved as Afro-Eurasia. And the second one is Australasia. We see New Guinea and Australia. And there was there was people there, obviously, and there was some degree of agriculture and some degree of trade, but not on the scale of Afro-Eurasia. The Pacific region, the newest region, it took some really impressive navigational or maritime skills to do your thing to get to the Pacific. So it's the newest. It's only been around since maybe 4000 BC. Not deep history like in Afro-Eurasia. And then eventually people made it to the Americas. This used to be the Bering Land Bridge, and then it turned into the Bering Ice, and then it turned into the water which separates Alaska and Russia. And people came to the Americas, and again, they did have agriculture, they did have trade, they did have the things that were taking place in Afro-Eurasia, but on a much smaller scale. So the world at this time is not the united world we think of today. It's essentially 4 divided worlds. And I am not the expert on this, but I am going to play a video from the expert, and his name is Professor Benjamin from Grand Valley State University.
Hello, I'm standing here at the Port of Seattle, one of the great commercial ports of the world, as a reminder to all of us that we live today at the centre of this vast, connected, globalised world. But of course, to a certain extent, it's always been this way. From the beginning of human history, our early cultures, early civilizations have been connected in various ways. We fought with each other, we traded ideas with each other, we traded material goods with each other, we traded diseases with each other. This was particularly true during the era of agrarian civilizations, when these vast civilizations that appeared in the Afro-Eurasian world zone established conditions that were ripe for scales of exchange hitherto unseen in human history. The key players in this were the Romans, the Parthians, the Kushans, and the Han Chinese. And with the road networks they laid down, with the port facilities they constructed, with the coinage they started to use, conditions were ready for trade that we had not seen before. This happened mainly along the Great Silk Roads network. This is a network of roads that connected China through Central Asia, joining the mountain ranges of Central Asia and the deserts, eventually with the Persian world and onto the Roman world. The Silk Roads exploded in the 1st century BCE when the Han Chinese began to connect with the rest of Eurasia for the first time. This fortunately coincided with the establishment of more peaceful conditions in Rome with the advent of Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. After a century of civil war, suddenly a climate of peace emerged within Rome that allowed for a demand for exotic goods from Asia to emerge. And what was most in demand was silk. This exotic material spun from these small cocoons spun by worms in China. The Chinese had discovered this secret thousands of years earlier, but now the demand emerged in Rome amongst wealthy patrician women who came to believe that their most luxurious garments had to be made of this exotic, sensual, translucent material. To supply this demand, caravans would come out of China, cross these dreadful deserts, the Taklamakan, the Gobi Desert, cross the highest mountain ranges on earth, passing these goods on to various middlemen along the way until they ended up in China. Maritime routes became important too, as more and more port facilities were developed, as sailors discovered the monsoon trade winds that would drive the ships across the Indian Ocean at one time of the year and then back again the other way at a different time of the year. This made deep ocean-going transport and trade possible, the sort of thing we see behind me here today. Eventually, these intense levels of trade, which also facilitated the movement of religions and of diseases, began to dissipate in the 3rd century when political instability in Rome and in China brought an end to this Great Silk Roads era. Other trade networks existed as well, in Australia, in the Americas. Indeed, in the Americas, we know that trade was going on between South America, Mesoamerica, and even up into the Ohio Valley, the Mississippi Valley, Chaco Canyon, and so on. We have evidence of plenty of goods and crops moving back and forward. But frankly, the scales of exchange in these other parts of the world were so much smaller, so much less intense. This gave Afro-Eurasia something of an edge it became more dynamic, it had larger populations, it had people who built up immunities to diseases, it had a lot more technological sophistication. So when the world zones began to reconnect after 1492, Afro-Eurasia was set to absolutely dominate these other world zones and drive the world into the modern revolution. In many ways, the Silk Roads were the forerunner to the sort of scales of exchange you see behind me now. This was the beginning of the establishment of these great global trade networks.
All right, now a final word from me. At this point, we're 2 days into a new unit. Hopefully you understand why this era of hemispheric interaction was taking place. Better routes, empires, religion, and writing. And you can see that human beings aren't that different in terms of our desire to travel and see the world and experience new things. That was going on 2,000 years ago. It will go on tomorrow and into the future. And that's about it for me. There's me making pancakes. Woo! Looking good. I am looking good. All right, tomorrow's class, we're going to learn about Rome, the western part of the Silk Road. Thanks for watching.